Welcome on in Ashwings to another very, very special series of the commoner. What the hell am I going to call this thing? The common to legend series. Put a graphic somewhere up there. Anyway, thank you all so much for being here. Thank you so much for hanging out. What I wanted to go ahead and do is make a series of videos that effectively just talks a little bit about kind of the same planning that somebody who would be prepping for nationals would be, but instead we're doing it for the commoner gold foil. So the commoner gold foil is when I go to nationals, there's a bunch of commoner events, and then on Sunday there is a commoner gold foil event where you can win a gold foil card, right, of common, rare, or majestic, whatever it might be. And that's how it works out. So I'm super excited to be going to Nats, but this is an iteration of the deck that I am bringing. I am going about just kind of going to go through the list here, do a quick rundown for our first episode, and then the remaining episodes throughout here as we continue to do more videos. We'll just talk a little bit about any changes I may have made. So taking a quick look here at the list, we are running Ira. Ira is the hero that I'm choosing since Reality Refractor got banned. So Ira is going to be, I think, probably the deck to beat. If not, like Chain and Dash still have a little bit of something going on, but Ira definitely the deck to beat there. So with Ira, we've got the two Kodachis. Obviously, Zephyr Needle being banned, so no reason to run any of those. But Harmonized Kodachi is just like Kodachi Locks Insane. Then we were running the entirety of the Tolarian Community College suites. We're running the Mask of Three Tails, the Blood Scent. We're also running Tearing Shuko and Pouncing Paws. I think there's a world in which this becomes something like Vest of the First Fist instead of Blood Scent, just because there's opportunities for me to hit and then follow up with something else there too. Mask of Three Tails, I think, is just really good. It doesn't block, so unfortunately, it's not like as good as we would like it to be, but it is pretty important to note that that is there. So we get to draw on our third hit, but only once. And then the Pouncing Paws Tearing Shuko combo, effectively this just allows you to block for 2, and then at any point throughout the game, you can pop both of these, create a Crouching Tiger, and then have it come in for 2 power. So very effective to extending that chain link and providing a little bit more damage on that front, and really just kind of sending it. So getting into the main deck here, again, as commoner, it is all commons inside the main deck, so we are kind of running a mix of a lot of these things here. Some things I'm sure are due to change just because I've seen them work and sometimes not work, but for the most part, a lot of this does tend to stay the same. We are actually running My Spice in this build, which is Adrenaline Rush. This card's effectively a 2-cost 7 in most cases. The only downside is it blocks for 2, but it's a 2-cost 7 because if you happen to have less life than your opponent, which normally you don't, but if you happen to, lose the die roll, for instance, and your opponent is just like slamming you with a whole bunch of stuff and you're on the back foot, being able to send a 1, Kodachi 1 for 5 and then follow it up with this Adrenaline Rush for 7 is a lot of extra damage to kind of push that into your favor and force cards out of their hand. Biting Breeze is super great. It's just a 0 for 3 with Go Again. If it hits, you create a Crouching Tiger. The good thing about this is that you can play it at the first chain link, and if it hits, your Crouching Tiger will then come in for 1 if you play it afterwards because of Ira's ability, or you can also play this as the second chain link and have it come in for a breakpoint. So you effectively get to utilize it in different ways, and obviously threatening those breakpoints is a pretty big deal, because even if you have to swing a Tiger for 0, you have other cards in the deck like Pouncing Key, which care about Tigers. So if you follow, you attack with this for 4, you hit, you play a Crouching Tiger for 0, then you play a Pouncing Key for 4, Go Again, you're effectively just doing the same thing, right? Bittering Thorns Red, card's insane in this hero, and really in this format. The fact this is a common is crazy. On hit, next attack, it gets +1, it's got Go Again. The only downside, of course, is it costs 1, but it's not too bad because you're already going to have 1 kind of due to be floating anyway, so you can start your chain with the Bittering Thorns and then still come in with 2 Kodachi, and that second Kodachi will even come in for 3 instead of 2 if this hits, so not too terrible there. We are running both Fate and Sync Blow in this format here. I think it's a pretty good call. It's a very defensive deck at sometimes, so having both available to you is good. Flux Claws, again, much like Biting Breeze, this is just a 1-cost 4-power go again. When it hits, you create a Crouching Tiger. So you get to utilize that, play it turn 1. If they block out the breakpoint and don't give you the Crouching Tiger, no big deal. You can go ahead and then just follow it up with your Kodachis or whatever other. You can even follow this up with a 2 for 6, right? You can follow it up with an Adrenaline Rush. You can follow it up with something like a Surging Militia. There are options available for that to happen there. Then we have the Flying Kick here. This is, again, kind of another one of those chain enders. You're going to come in Kodachi, and then if you're able to get another floating resource somewhere, you can swing this Flying Kick, or if you happen to go in with a 0-cost attack, a 1-cost attack, and then a Flying Kick, off of just like keeping your whole hand, you get to threaten 7 damage here no matter what. It does also block for 3, so pretty good there. We're running Leg Tap, again, 1 for 4 with Go Again. Pouncing Key, really only useful if you are attacking with a Tiger. So this one might make a cut somewhere, but I kind of like it. Razor Reflex, this is the card that just wins you games when your opponent thinks that they can't block. They don't need to block that Kodachi coming in for 1 because they're at 4 life. You just pump it with Razor Reflex, and if they don't have a D-React, they die. So very effective on that front. Scar for Scar, need to say less. Quite literally has Ira on the card, but it's a 0 for 4 again if you're on the back foot and you're not you're trying to get tempo back. Scar for a Scar is a good way to get that back. We're running all copies of the red and blue Soulbead Strike. Blue Soulbead Strike is mostly for the pitch value, while red Soulbead Strike is a breakpoint for 0 that if it hits, it gets Go Again. So you get to kind of threaten that. It's almost essentially like the same deal as Snatch, where your opponent does not want this to hit, and so they're going to try their best to block that out fully. Surging Militia, fantastic card. Effectively just says, yeah, you're going to want to block this card, but if you do, it gets even better as it continues to get blocked. There's no way for you to not leak damage on here outside of having a bunch of equipment to defend it. So still pretty good. It's a 2 for 5, so it like seems off rate, but if your opponent blocks with 2 cards to attempt to block 6, you still leak 2 damage through. So when you're swinging these towards the end of the game, your opponent has to make a very, very specific decision. Otherwise, they're going to lose a lot of life to Surging Militia. Torn Tempo, same deal. Effectively just Soulbead Strike, but it costs 1. And got a ton of value as far as, a 1 for 5, so you can follow it up. You can have a card in hand. You can Kodachi, play Torn Tempo. And then if you have that card in hand, your opponent's going to think, well, is this going to be something like Assault the Wound? Is it going to be something else that they're going to be able to follow it up with? And if it is, awesome, and they let it hit, you can play that card, or you can just simply Arsenal it, right? It's kind of the best part about bluffing in this is you might have it, but your opponent's going to have to at least give you a couple pieces of equipment or 2 cards to block this, which is going to significantly decrease their tempo. Then we have some more blues in here. We are only running the Soulbead Strike and then these blues here. We're running Nip at the Heels, fantastic. Truly fantastic card. I'm almost thinking that this was just like printed specifically for Ira. Again, it's an attack reaction. It blocks for 3, costs 0. It's a blue, so it activates Kodachis. And then, of course, you can pump something up for another +1 to try and get over that breakpoint to win a game if you happen to have it in hand. 1-2 Punch, 0 cost, blue block 3. Need to say less. Same with Rising Knee Thrust, Whelming Gust Wave, and Wounding Blow, all 0 cost block 3s. You're normally not going to be attacking with these cards, but if the opportunity arises and you're trying to force another card out of your opponent's hand, you may want to send it just strictly because you want to make sure that they are off tempo as much as possible here. And then taking another look in here, we do have the Finals Fighting Spirit, and then we have the 2 Oasis Respite in the sideboard here, and then AB3. I'm genuinely wondering if I switch out AB3 to AB2, and instead just put either another popper in here or maybe even take out like another piece here, like take out Pouncing Key and put in another more powerful red, effectively, like a Ravenous Rabble or something. But I'm not entirely sure what the steps are for that, what I want to do, though. But that's the point of this testing, is to make sure that we're able to test that and see. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into a quick game that I had previously played and we'll kind of go over my play style and what happened and how the game went. All right, so our opponent here is Ira as well. So it's the Ira mirror going on. And I decided to go ahead and go second here just because it tends to be a lot of back and forth. Took a look there. Heart and Cross Strap and Breaking Scales leads me to believe this is a much more combo-focused Ira on my opponent's side. But luckily, not the end of the world for me. I'd much rather just be able to block efficiently with my Sweet and then present damage there, because the Tearing Shuko Pouncing Paws combo is just far too good to pass up. So here I go ahead and take one. This is just because in case I draw into a Scar for a Scar, I will have value on that front for the go again. So not the end of the world there. But then my opponent does go ahead and choose to just pass. So they simply just get one of their cards out and then pass, leaving me with all the cards in my hand, which is fine because I still have a lot of value in this front to be able to send some stuff. So again, pretty simple procedure here you're going to see from both players, really, is just going to be send Kodachi, send something else, and just kind of really push through the damage where you can. It's not quite an aggressive deck. I mean, there's a way to build aggro Ira, but I do truly believe that a more mid-range style Ira just kind of gets the job done. Her math is just far too good. So I go ahead and I swing the Soul Bead Strike here just because I don't want to put a blue in Arsenal. And my opponent has to kind of like, they have to respect it a little bit because if it does hit, I get to mask. Which I could have done here, but instead I chose not to because I wanted to keep an Arsenal. So, but my opponent also was not blocking, so I theoretically could have probably pushed 3 more damage there, if not more. But we really wanted to make sure that we were getting our full value out of like the blocks from our equipment. So I didn't want to like pop Tearing Shuko and Pouncing Paws to go even wider. But we certainly could have. So we got the Kodachi coming in. The Bittering Thorns is coming in. So this is going to be a little bit harder to deal with, but luckily we do have that equipment suite. So always works out there. And then Assault the Wound coming in for 4. This one I don't know that I care too much about. But I mean, Assault the Wound is Assault the Wound. I certainly don't want to take 4 damage, but I'm trying to see what my options here are for going against the turn. So I decided to just go ahead and just take 4, bring me down to 12 again. I kind of want to be at that weird parity where I'm still able to Scar for a Scar, or, you know, kind of make sure that they can't Scar for a Scar effectively, right? So they go ahead, they block out the Kodachi with the Breaking Scales, which is good because this is their only point of block value. So now we get to come in with a Biting Breeze, which is going to help a lot there. That's going to come in for 4. We then get blocked out by this Fate Foreseen. Makes sense, right? It is just, it is what it is. And now that we know, though, we know that we're down 2 Fate Foreseens. So our opponent has probably 2 Sink Belows left in the deck as D-reacts, but we get to follow up here with a Surging Militia, which if they take 5 and go down to 10, awesome. If they block, we get a card from their hand, and we still do a little bit here. We're now at that life parity, and I just go ahead and pass it on up there. My hope here is to block out with the Pouncing Paws in this turn, if I recall, just because I want to get that full value, especially with this Pouncing Key sitting in my arsenal. But we do have 2 D-reacts in hand, so we get to go ahead and utilize that here, where we're just going to go block out a whole bunch of this damage. I do end up just getting one of these reds out of my hand because I'd rather get a blue, but of course I don't get a blue. So it does suck that we didn't draw into the blue, which means that we're definitely not going to be doing any kind of Kodachi shenanigans, but we do have the ability now where we can force a little bit more. We got lucky on the Soul Bead Strike here by not getting rid of that Fate Foreseen. I ended up keeping this Adrenaline Rush on top just because I tend to keep myself at a lower life. So that way I can send that Adrenaline Rush for 7 whenever I do end up sending it. And yeah, it looks like, I mean, turn here is pretty simple. I'm pretty much just going to hope that they don't block this Biting Breeze, because I'd imagine they don't care. They do end up blocking it. And I believe here in the situation, I'm just trying to figure out, do I want to go ahead and utilize the Shuko Pause combo to get this more in my favor? So I do that. I play the Crouching Tiger, And then theoretically, I could now utilize Blood Scent to pump any of my attacks. So I just get to come in for a bunch of damage. They're not going to block. I theoretically could have actually popped that there and done 3 more damage. But I ended up just deciding to close the chain and keep this Razor Reflex for baiting my opponent. Again, they're at 5. So now this is an interesting situation in which I would have expected Heart and Cross Trap to be popped. But they just came in raw with that. So that's kind of insane. We got 3 go again. I can block kind of okay. I can block with 1 card. But I don't want this to hit, because if it hits, they're going to get to draw a card, which is not good for me at all. But they will get to come in with a something else there. I did block 4 here because of the breaking scales. So now the Kodachi is just going to come in. I'll gladly take 1 from Kodachi, bringing me down to 4, which makes my Adrenaline Rush better. Now, my issue here is that I want to swing Kodachis because I want to threaten that damage. But, I mean, at the end of the day, the Adrenaline Rush wasn't a bad call to play either. But this is going to go a little bit wider. It's going to force our opponent to do some more stuff. So they don't block there. I go ahead and then just send this leg tap for 4. I'm going to see whether or not we get hit with a defense reaction. But I'm going to play this Razor Reflex to get over it as well, because they're probably going to block 3 and then do nothing. And now if a D-React happens here, we end up losing the value, but we actually end up getting the game there. So yeah, that's the entirety of the Ira deck here into the mirror. So thank you for my opponent for letting me know what the Ira mirror is looking like. Again, you're normally expected to see more of this Pouncing Paws, Tearing Shuko build, although, again, there is a way to make a deck very aggressive when it comes to playing Ira, just because getting that additional point of value is so critical. I would say, again, I kind of kept that Pouncing Key in my arsenal for a very long time, but, it's here nor there. I'd like to have it because it's a 0 for 4 for go with Go Again whenever I want, because I can pop those boots and the arm piece to send 2. Also, if I end up getting lucky and a Flex Claws or a Biting Breeze hits and I get a Tiger, I get to also utilize a 0 for 4 with Go Again. But I do wonder if there's a world where maybe a different card is better for this. But we do know that, like Pouncing Key, it also blocks for 3, so we get a lot of value off that as well. But yeah, so let me know what you guys think about the Ira deck in the comments down below. This is the same Ira deck I bring with all my battle box stuff. So hoping to bring this deck to Nats, playing a bunch of commoner events, really kind of try some stuff out, and see where it takes me as far as the day goes. But I do think Ira is pretty well poised into the commoner meta right now, as she always has been. And I do think that this is going to continue to be a very contentious hero in the commoner meta, just because she never seems to go away and never seems to get hit by anything at all ever. So I'm curious to see if anything from High Seas ends up doing stuff for her. But until then, she's just the value queen we all know and love, and I hope to bring her to the finals of the gold foil event in Nationals and take it there. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to like it, subscribe to the channel as well if you have not already. And again, feel free to leave a comment down below and let me know who you might be playing in the commoner events moving forward. And I look forward to seeing you all very soon. So take care and continue to have fun in the flesh and blood. And I will see all of you beautiful Ashwings in our next video.